The main play styles you may have seen in videos on YouTube or people talking about are having huge platforms where you have freestanding machinery on top of it and that's it. Very often just one layer of basement and then machinery comes along mixed with lots of conveyors. Or the other one, the other extreme, people are using foundation material to erect super shiny buildings which are designed to exactly a specific amount of input output. What's the difference to pragmatic? Pragmatic means you are erecting buildings for having more build space in a way that it's easy to change those on demand or connect. As an example on this screen, that is the area where I started. And we're looking now on it after I finished the game. And you can see the difference to those YouTube videos where it's all about shiny buildings. This one's not super shiny. I use the standard wall material to erect my building. And the main purpose of these buildings is only to have multiple levels for building. With that I gain more building space at the same location. Because very quickly you will notice that you are able to link in while conveyor belts resources to your spot, and it is the best to produce the stuff right immediately at the place where you started. And that leads then to the idea of having buildings. And pragmatic buildings, in the beginning, we're here in the starter base, are just one level for each machinery park based on a height of 3 wall elements using the deletion 1, 2, 3, because that covers most. If you have a manufacturer in it you need more, then you need 4. Here are some manufacturers nice below the roof. Not manufacturer, there's one. They need a bit more height. But they're coming later anyway. So in the beginning, it is good to erect those pragmatic buildings, just 3 wall levels high per build area near your starting area. All the conveyor traffic is done inside the same level, and that gives you in the beginning the overview that you need to understand what's the flow of your stuff. Because once you put your conveyor belts below your production line, or you hide it, or you build awesome buildings where they're even totally covered to ensure that it looks nicer, it's very hard to understand where do you have a problem not. Where is a line where there's not enough material on it, or where's a line where you have way too much material on it. That's way easier to understand if you can see your conveyors and then you can erect later on. Also, while the game is continuing, you get more opportunities like dimensional depots, which gives a bit of material. That's something you really need to go for as soon as you anyhow can. Set up dimensional depots to ensure you have all the material that you need for your building on your hand. It is not sufficient enough to use it for dumping it into production somewhere else. The input here is too slow for that. But it's the way to go that you have all the building material on your hand whenever you need it, whenever you work on your expansion of buildings. The next step then is that you build more buildings next to it. You can see at our start base spot, I expanded with first more little buildings. Here's an awesome sink in it and some biofuel generation. And then next to it, a super large building. You can see I have even more space in it than I actually needed at the end of the day, which gives me lots of flexibility. So that's another tip. Try to have buildings erected in your area of activity which have more space than you immediately need. because then, with changed demands, you have the space to dump in more machinery later on, when it's a bit more clear how much you actually need. This floor is even half empty. I was very enthusiastic when I created a space here. Where here it's a bit more packed, because I'm closer to the train station. When you get your manufacturers, it's quite a game changer if it comes to space consumption. That's why whenever you build your buildings, keep in mind, for manufacturers you need 4 level space up, wall level space up. Once your start area has expanded enough and you unlocked in the MAM the programmable splitter, then you can start and say move away from that start area and expand to a major platform, especially for the 4 and 5 build events, and transport all the stuff you need from here to there. The beauty about those is, those trains, I can dump into the same container whatever I like. It's a happy mix of what is ever needed, and by rearranging my conveyor belts before I get a different content, different stuff coming in here. Lots of SEM ore here. And all that goes into the same content, the same mix. Let's have a look inside. See, happy mix of stuff. So with that, you are very flexible with the train station if it comes to transport, because you can link whatever you need into your train station. Yep. But you will need the programmable splitter to unsort it on arrival in your new main platform. That's why before you go for main platform, you must have your programmable splitter, and you must have the ability to connect everything with the train system. Before you have unlocked any programmable splitter, you will already be in need to have more energy. That means the very first oil rig will be done without the ability to implement any drone. You will have to connect this one with conveyor belts to your main base. In this example, you can see I progressed later on in the game by adding on later on a drone port, because I use this original production to forward later on lots of fuel to my main platform, package fuel, which are there distributed to the other drones. So from here I'm providing all the package fuel to all the other oil rigs I have, so that my drones can fly. But that is something that comes later on. First, in the beginning, it is all about having some energy production and connecting that via conveyor belts to your main base. You will run into the usual problems of what happens when stuff's locked or not. So even here, it will be important to have again an awesome sync to ensure that if there's too much on the conveyor belts, it still keeps going. And the whole Soleil purpose of it, next to fuel production, is burning more fuel. So therefore there are quite a few fuel power generators. They're quite busy. And those started to deliver me the energy. Always important to have in your pipe some storage areas, depending on what you got already free on demand for it. Not just for the purpose of flows like in a water tower, it is also very useful to see if your fuel production is sufficient or not. So here we have obviously not enough fuel because it's not filling up. So in this setup as it is currently, we do not have enough fuel to have all the generators running all the time. You see sometimes the fume stops on them, so they are not constantly running. You have a bit of unevenness. And I think in some of them I dumped already some power charts. Yeah. So maybe 1 or 2 power charts are too much in this setup because our tank's empty. So that helps you a lot, connecting a tank to a pipe to see if you're working balance or not. Later on, when I progressed with the game, I got the ability to extract water, oil or nitrogen gas via fracking. A technique I surely hate in real life because it's the best way to screw up your environment. And that allowed me to add later on in the game a further station for energy production and got a bit more plastic out of it. Yeah. And you can see here again, not all of the machines are running. There's no smoke on these. That means we have some balanced situation here too. Most of the time I can see most of the generators are running, so we're fine there. My unbalanced situation here is primarily about the plastic production, and I'm not having a problem with that if I do have 1 or 2 second level machinery too much, because then I can ensure that if due to fluctuation I get on the first level a bit more production, they can catch up. So I always like to have in my supply chain on higher level a little bit more than necessary to ensure nothing locks up. Yeah, and from here we already have the view then to the main platform, which I introduced later on. But main message here, before you get your programmable splitter, it's all about to find the first location of an oil production area and set up your fuel generators. In my case, since it's the second playthrough, I knew it's in this area. So from the start base, I can reach it by foot. I set up a little loop to get there. And it's all a bit crowded because this one expanded and later on demand the new ideas came and I decided where to go with the platform. So then later on I added more of the Hyperloop to get through. I mean, I love riding on the train, but you need to have a second opportunity for that. Hyperloop is really good, especially when you start the whole thing. And here I got my second start, from which I can go to the base and you can see very dirty below the oil rig going through and then connect it to the train track. But hey, it works, it's pragmatic. And I think it doesn't look too crappy. When you install a little bit of walls around, you ensure that you have columns to hold your structure, then it's quite acceptable and you have a pragmatic build here. Here you can see one of my oil rigs. See, there's no conveyor coming to it. It's just the oil production, getting some fuel and working with it. Let's go to it. If you do build such an oil rig outside, which you try to run independent, two things are important. First of all, when you go there, ensure that you have enough concrete with you for a start, because you may not like to set up a concrete factory every time. The second one is you need to have enough input of resources on your hand already so that you can react. You will have downtimes where you wait a little bit on stuff to get in your dimensional depot, but that's acceptable. The drone port is the only one that we use for an outside connection. This guy here is delivering plastic. Yep. And if we look again, he is the one who picks it up from the main platform some fuel, and the fuel is rerouted into our fuel demand and everything that's too much. And that's another one very important. You need to have on every of your oil rigs an awesome sink, because you need to ensure that an overproduction of whatever gets deleted immediately for not locking up your flow of goods into the drone. So that must be a part of every single oil rig station, having your awesome sink there to ensure the production flows. And the whole purpose of the exercise is, okay, we're getting some plastic here. I'm not done an old oil rig. There's even an oil rig where it just drops the plastic. What's the plastic? I mean, the polymer resin gets dropped into the awesome sink. Why should I waste energy on production when I simply don't need it anymore? I just need energy. Then that goes straight into the awesome sink, and it's all about the oil generators, which are making a heck of a noise. They are the ones giving us the energy. I'm not even very sophisticated by using a rocket fuel or something. It is a standard fuel they get. Let's see. So it's a standard fuel which we get immediately, and that is sufficient enough to set up enough generators to deliver you the energy you need. Here are the oil tanks, done in the water tower system, as mentioned before. So that is all you need to think about. Having little oil rigs out there which deliver you the energy. And if you have a production there, like rubber or plastic, then you need drones to deliver it to the main location. And here's the view on the main base. Platform erected. It's the view after I finalize the game. Of course it looks slightly different in between. But the main thing, and I reckon you get the idea, is I created first of all a huge platform, which becomes maybe even more visible from the side. So I built it this by the way that I built my train tracks, and I want them to have on the same level as a platform, so easily then I came in with the train tracks, with these ground elements. And from there expanded into the top level of the platform. The platform has of course a second level. And you can see here, it stretches quite a bit. There's no fanciness, it's mining stuff. It's just a miner. A little platform, off we go. And the first thing you do when you create your platform for the mid-game expansion, you need to have, of course, your very own limestone. Because you will need tons of concretes for the creation of the platform. Here the upper level. This is still for the Xmas event. Kinda nice, I like it. Nice add-on, especially when you're in phase 5 and it's a bit boring in between. Then looking a little bit for the little presents and playing with the tree. It's very nice. I like what they've done with the Fixmas event. It's much better than just a minor texture change or the usual Santa hat, which is in other games, so that's quite nice. So that's how I start on the platform, giving me a little production for my concrete. Not very fancy, did not even spend any effort in creating a building around it. Later on I just topped it up with a roof and that's it. Because here I had to go and grab all my concrete to build this stretch. And when you do that, you see already, when I jump from roof to roof, it is super duper important that you set yourself up some signs showing you what's in which building. By reasons of aesthetics, I really like having these buildings with the standard wall from the game. That means if you go on build mode, we have the standard walls. You get more walls via points from the awesome sink, which is very useful. Then you get more forms. And with that you can build a bit more better looking buildings, which I really like, and I think that's sufficient. That's why I doubt all these YouTube videos demanding that we have to use foundations for building massive factories, which are then very hard to rework, because you will end up quite a lot of times that the shape of these factories slightly need to be changed because demand changed, and you have to do little add-ons. So you're way more flexible by having simple buildings around and then react on the demand. And for that you need, of course, lots of space. So as an example, this whole copper thing here, with some more wires from a motor production, that all came in quite late. And I suddenly needed tons of motors here, which had even been bigger than the motor production of my original place, so I decided to squeeze it in. And that tells you that when you do the platform build, you need to have it large enough for pumping in extra houses later on. Don't make it too narrow. Go large. Costs you a bit of time to set up the platform, but hey, compared to other approaches, that's about nothing. And again, look always on having set up these signs. That really helps you to understand where's which production line, because you will forget it when you have done tons of buildings. Yeah, okay, you may be younger than me, I'm 60, so my brain may not be as sharp anymore like yours, but hey, nevertheless it can become a bit complicated, so it's good to know where what gets produced. And that's the level below. You see, I'm doing 2 levels, as explained before. 1 level from the wall, it becomes more visible with F. You see here, 1 level, 2nd level, and if you do a 2 level below your main platform, the advantage is you have afterwards 3 levels for your conveyor belts. You can see it here, 1 on top, 1 in the center and 1 on the bottom. And that works only if you give it 2 level space, 2 level by wall height. And that is the thing. It looks like total chaos, and that is the main fun, and that's what I'm highly suggesting all the time. Ignore those amazing websites where, oh, I forgot foundation here. What did I do there? I do that quite a lot when in build mode of a building, that I quickly open up to see what's directly below. Do not use those websites telling you, yeah, you need 300 of those machines, 500 of those machines, and then you have your final factory. That takes away a lot of fun. Plus it changes your build approach. I think there are two main cultures when using this game. One culture is, I'm building a fantastic factory for every single demand. And the more super large foundations you use for that, the harder it is to be reactive with those. That means modification becomes way more cumbersome. And the other approaches in this game, and that's what I think is the way to go for having a bit more pragmatic approach, you reuse the existing one. You will end up tuning it. You will punch in energy plugs to increase the production. Yeah? No, I forgot the word for it. What was it? Energy plugs. You know, these little guys. Power shots. Yeah. See, that's when it didn't touch the game for 3 days. And the brain's already getting the little Alzheimer. Okay, that is quite important, especially in the end of the game. I noticed in phase 5, you definitely need 100 to 150 of those mass-produced power charts. As soon as you get the ability to do so, produce those. You do need them to adjust your current production to the changed demands of level 5 to have it a bit more optimal throughput. Because with changing demands in a multi-level supply chain, always something crucial, and the quickest way to react then is really pumping in power charts to make it become more feasible. Yep, that's the area for phase 5. For that, just for the purpose of demonstration, I think I had one mast here that I used all the time for checking the energy. Have a look here. I don't need that much. So I'm producing 31,000 megawatt. I do not have any kind of nuclear power. And I'm consuming only half of it. In phase 5, after the game's done. So that tells you you need nuclear only for energy production. If you go for that approach of having super large factory for every single request coming on, and then turn them off when the request changed in the demand list, and turn on something different. But if you are in a pragmatic build like this, and you are able, by rerouting supply lines, conveyor belts in the lower level that I just showed you before, you can be way more responsive to change demands. And with that, you don't need that much machinery. And you are much, much more efficient if it comes to energy consumption. So no nuclear power needed if you proceed with a pragmatic build. And that always leads you to having a large platform with the 2-layer level below to contain all your conveyor belts. And that platform has to be connected via train to your original start area to get over all the materials you need from that start area. I think with that you had a nice impression about how to proceed in a bit more pragmatic build. And all I can say is go and have some fun on your own. Cheerio.